All right, family. Welcome back to BrainFLoTv. Listen, this is about the YNW Melly trial and what is going to take place sometime in the near future. Either way, I know the judge is tired of it. I know the viewers are tired of it. Everybody right now is just put it pretty much at the point where we're like, listen, get to a verdict. Guilty or innocent. Of course, YNW Melly has his fans, and his fans are saying free Melly. They don't give a damn even if he is guilty. Free Melly. And then, of course, you have the victims' families, sympathizers to those people who want justice, regardless. And they're saying, keep him in there. This is what we're going to get into. And I'm going to make a couple of predictions, and then we're going to see where it goes. So as we wind down the year, coming to the end of 2023, heading into 2024, this is what's about to play out. Again, welcome back to BrainFLoTv. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up on BrainFLoTv. All right. So I've been covering this trial for quite some time, intricately, into all the details, more than a normal person should. Let's say I'm kind of obsessed, right? Okay. Sometimes I have people that come by the channel and they leave a comment saying that I'm biased. I'm biased because I speak as if I want YNW Melly to go to prison. Here's the thing. If you watch the first trial, it cannot be erased from your mind. And I want people to understand this. Because the first trial ended in a mistrial, it does not mean that the first trial did not happen. Let me say that again. Because the first trial ended in a mistrial, it does not mean that the first trial did not happen, which means it does not mean that we did not see and hear all the things we saw and heard. I'm talking about all the evidence, circumstantial evidence. They don't have any DNA evidence on YNW Melly placing him at the scene of the crime, but they certainly have super strong circumstantial evidence. I'm talking about if you from back in the day and you know about crazy glue, the real crazy glue before they started watering it down, that circumstantial evidence that they have is that strong against him. And of course, they also have electronic evidence as well, right? The electronic evidence is not DNA as in blood evidence or fingerprint evidence, but it is strong enough to get a conviction, and that is my prediction. I don't mean to rhyme. I just sound that way sometimes. All right, let's get into this. So with that said, pardon me if I come off a little biased because I did see the first trial and everything pointed to YNW Melly being the shooter, just like the prosecution said he was. And also the prosecution made their case in that first trial. The thing about that first trial is the way it ended that way simply because there were disruptions within the jury pool. And disruptions in the jury pool doesn't mean that everything that the prosecution said is not real. It just meant that there were 12 people that were put together and all 12 of them could not agree on what it was. But make no mistake about it. Please remember, it was first 11-1 guilty. And then later on we heard one of the jurors who came out and did an interview said after it went 11-1 guilty, there was that one juror who just would not break. That one juror who was sympathetic towards YNW Melly's mother, sympathetic towards, like she was a fan of YNW Melly sort of thing. She actually said outright, she is not listening to anything they have to say. He is not guilty. She made up her mind and nobody could change her mind. Now, for you to be a jury member, sit on the jury and then say, I don't give a damn what evidence they pull. I don't give a damn what they show me. He's not guilty and I'm voting not guilty. That's dangerous. If you watched the first trial and you saw them come back into the courtroom, and they kept asking the judge for permission to review certain things again, that was because they were trying to convince that one juror, listen, look at it again. It's right here. she finally got to the point where she said, you know what? I don't even care. I don't care what y'all tell me. He's not guilty. Now, with that being said, it went from 11-1 to 9-3. So at the end of the day, right before they went in to give their final verdict to the judge, she was able to pull 2 more jurors over to her side. And according to jurors that were there, she was aggressive. She was calling people homosexual innuendos. You faggot, shut the fuck up. Aggressive. One juror said she wanted to fight. She wanted to come to blows with some of the other jurors in there. And she was very intimidating. With that said, you could see why, preparing for the new trial, they need to take all the precautions in the world that they could. Let's remember this. YNW Melly's mother, Jamie King. Jamie King has been going to that courthouse from the beginning of all this. So let's just say she's been going to the courthouse for years. She's there to see her son. It's obvious, based on what the prosecution said recently, they accused her of showing up at that courthouse so she could play some psychological games with the potential jurors. The first question I asked was, why does she need to be there during jury selection? This is what the new prosecution team wanted. They filed a motion to have YNW Melly's mother banned from the courthouse. They accused her of coming to the courthouse, making eye contact with the jurors, trying to put herself in places where the jurors or potential jurors who are coming to court, going through the vetting process to become one of the jurors potentially. She's finding wherever they're parking at. She's going over to their parking area. She's parking her car in the same places. She's putting herself strategically in places in the hallway when they take a break, go out to the water fountain, go use the bathroom. She's putting herself close by these areas so she could make eye contact with them, so she could look at them and with some sympathy, like, oh, I am this single mother in distress and they're about to give my son the death penalty. Please help me. Please feel for me like a mother, kind of thing, right? And even one of the potential jurors told the prosecution, according to them, that she just kept staring at me. She kept staring at me as if she wanted to make eye contact with me, as if she was trying to say something to me non-verbally. That's weird. The judge, however, said she had a right to be there. So the judge struck down that motion to have her dismissed from the process. Now, when the judge struck the motion down, all it means is Jamie King would still be able to come to the courthouse while they are selecting jurors or jury members for the new trial that is supposed to start. By the way, the new trial has been pushed to February of 2024. February 5th of 2024 to be exact. And it was pushed to February 5th of 2024 for a number of reasons. Mainly, the new prosecution team of 3 attorneys who took over after the lead attorney was taken off the case. They said to the judge, look, we don't have, she's had this case for years. And although we've heard of the case, we don't know the details, the ins and outs of it. So, Your Honor, with all these extra motions that have been filed by YNW Melly's attorney, on top of all the other work that we have to sift through, we're going to need some extra time to actually properly prepare for this. Of course, YNW Melly's attorneys are pushing speedy trial. Now. We want this done by the end of the year. But while they're saying speedy trial, they're filing motion after motion after motion to slow up the process. So they're like throwing obstacles in their own way, right? But we'll get to that in a minute. So the judge says that YNW Melly's mom has every right to still come to the courthouse, and she jumps on social media and she makes a video, and the video says something along these lines like, that's my baby, that's my son. And I go up there, and I've been going there from the beginning of all this. I've been going to that courthouse for years. Everybody knows Melly doesn't have any phone privileges and his visitation rights have been taken away. So the only way I get to see my child is when I see him right there in that courthouse. As a mother, that's what I want to do, just to see my child. I'm not there to interfere with the process of selecting jury. But what she did was commendable to a sense. Or some people are saying maybe it's because she realized that they were on to her. And this could bring about serious charges because the judge did warn her. You've been coming here long enough. You know the rules. You know the laws. You know the regulations. You better not be stepping out of bounds. You are to have no contact and not be trying to get in touch with any of these potential jury members, etc., etc. So, she said, basically, I already know that these people are corrupted. And I don't want them to use any of this against my son. So I want to give him a fair fighting chance. So what I will do, even though it's hard for me, I will stay away. So she voluntarily removed herself from coming to the courthouse throughout the jury selection process. She says, I'll show up when court actually starts in February, to give them space so they can do whatever they got to do without worrying that I'm there and I might be doing anything to disrupt the process, which I think was a smart move, right? And also the prosecution got their way regardless. Even if the judge didn't give it to him, YNW Melly's mom gave it to them. Where are we going with this? Okay, then comes YNW Melly's team of lawyers. They made it clear. They put a new attorney on this case. This new attorney is a seasoned veteran. I did some research. I looked up his background. He is in the top 1%. If you're going to spend your money to try to free yourself and you got a couple millions in the bank, this is who you want to put your money with. Now, to be honest, it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot because so much is stacked against him that he might just be throwing all his money away. But this is the person right here. He has beaten quite a few similar cases before. Not as high profile, but they were murder conviction cases where the death penalty was on the table and all that other stuff. He knows how to get in there and fight and get dirty and bring out all the technicalities. He goes in for his client, which is what you want an attorney to do. I know the people who want justice, they're saying you're a filthy lawyer because you can see that boy is guilty, but you're trying to make a killer walk free. Hey man, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's how the law goes, right? And a good attorney can get you off even if you are guilty, if he is skilled enough. But sometimes the chips are just stacked against you to the point where they cannot do anything no matter how good they are. And in this YNW Melly trial right here, I think his attorneys are putting up a good fight. But I think it's going to be unfortunate because they won't be able to free him. They won't be able to free him at all. He's been up quite a few times trying to get bond so he can fight this from home while sitting at home and go to court as required. Maybe throw an ankle monitor on him, put him on house arrest, put a couple of, agents outside his house, keep him under surveillance, something. He's been locked up for quite a while. He's been locked up, I believe, since he was 19 years old. The dude's about to be 25. I think he's 24, something like that, right? Okay, that's a couple of good years. Mentally, he's probably even starting to become institutionalized, given all that has been found about what's going on behind the scenes with him. He hasn't exactly been a model inmate. He hasn't exactly been conforming to the rules behind bars. He hasn't exactly been a good citizen sitting there praying, hoping, waiting that God is going to save me and I'm innocent. He's been getting it in behind bars. Hence the reason why his visitation rights have been taken away for quite some time. And his phone privileges as well. Let's not forget the Detective Polo, the one who showed up in the first trial wearing the mask, the Pooh Shiesty mask. Detective Polo was doing investigations on a completely different individual. And they had pretty much tapped this individual's phone calls and were listening in. This is a top tier gang member, blood member, identified as who was locked up in prison or in jail. Sorry, in the same jail. Prison, jail, it's a difference. Melly is in jail. Let's get that clear. He's not in prison yet. But Detective Polo and them, they went in there investigating somebody else. And the person they were investigating, high-ranking blood member, gang member, who was in there on some racketeering charges. And while they were tapping his phone, looking into his communication, seeing who he was communicating with, what type of messages he was sending out, how he is operating and politicking and moving around inside the system, what chips he might be moving around outside the system, lo and behold, YNW Melly pops up in his network. So YNW Melly pops up in his network, and this is how they started putting one and one together and got to the place where they realized that YNW Melly was actually communicating with YNW Bortland while YNW Bortland was outside. So now y'all remember when YNW Bortland's house got raided, YNW Bortland got rearrested, he got off bond, he is incarcerated again, and he will sit there until it's time for his trial to begin. Crazy. They also got hit with witness tampering charges. Now, I want you to remember this. The state is not going to come to court and just say, oh, you've been tampering with witnesses. Guilty. They're guilty, Your Honor. They have proof. And they have to have proof in order to make these accusations. Because if they make the accusation, the judge is going to say, okay, show me the proof. And if you can't show me the proof, the judge is going to look at them like, this is so unprofessional. You just walk in here and make these blatant accusations against a person who's fighting for their life with no proof. So they have proof. But we're on the outside looking in. So we won't see the proof until they go to trial. When they go to trial, we'll see. But they did reveal some of the stuff to us, right? Like YNW Melly sending coded messages, reaching out, actually getting in touch with YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend and her mom. There's communication messages that have been confiscated and are held in evidence where, you know, it simply shows that that woman just doesn't want any part of this. At this point, I don't know if she wanted money before to shut up, but she simply right now just wants her daughter to be left alone. Especially that message where she was like, Melly ain't the only one that got money. He needs to leave my daughter alone, right? My daughter was fine before him. She'll be fine after him, kind of thing. That was very, very telling. Where they used the Beyonce language and what was the other one? They were throwing a couple of names in there. Rihanna's name was also in there, and her man's name and all that. And they deciphered that to mean lay low, don't say nothing. Especially the message from YNW Bortland when he reached out to that young lady, and her mama said, I could tell these people right now that you fucking with us. You reaching out to us. And if I do, they'll snatch your ass up, right? Put you back in jail. He was trying to tell that girl, if you were more loyal, you would have been driving around in a pink BMW by now. So yeah, then came the witness tampering charges. It doesn't make Melly look any better. The prosecution started saying, listen, Your Honor, we're filing another motion. Our motion is to add the witness tampering charges and all the other charges that are racking up in the meantime to the trial. And charge him with everything in one, to include murder and everything else that he's on trial for already. So now, while they are trying to select 12 jurors who are going to actually see this through and come to a solid decision, you must also remember that they need alternate jurors. Hell, if they pick 12 jurors, one of them could drop dead. They'll need somebody to replace that person. So I'm thinking they'll probably do 12 jurors and 12 alternate jurors on standby just in case anything happens. They'll send everybody else home. They're going through hundreds of people to select. And the requirements to become a jury member in this case, it requires that you have very little knowledge of the case. A case that was so widespread and publicized is kind of hard. If you're between a certain age group, it's kind of hard to say, let's find somebody between 18 and 25, 18 and 30 that knows nothing about this case. So they're asking people, do you know anything about this case? Do you know who YNW Melly is? Did you follow the first trial? They need people to be like, what? Who? Why and what? No. Not familiar, don't know. Okay, you'll make a good juror. If you go in there and you're like, yeah, I followed it closely. I'm a huge YNW Melly fan. Honestly, I kind of thought that he was innocent, but I'm willing to listen to whatever. They'll be like, nah, you can't be a juror because your mind's already made up. Or they'll look into certain things like that. So they're selecting these. As the new year comes around, we're going to see YNW Portland now be thrown way up under that bus again. I feel so sorry for Portland because Portland seems to be slow. And I've said this before in many other videos, and I'll say it again. I think that YNW Portland's team needs to have a psychological evaluation done on YNW Portland. Not only that, they need to have some kind of test ran on him to see where his IQ is. I don't think that boy is playing with a full deck. I don't think he's okay. Maybe it was because of drugs that did it, or maybe it's because he was high when I seen him doing the interviews, or maybe it's because, whatever the case may be, he just does not recognize that he is the pawn in all of this. Make no mistake about it. One person that can, even if YNW Melly, an angel comes down from heaven and gets him off, YNW Portland cannot escape this. Are we going to see YNW Portland eventually flip and start telling everything and put this case on its head? Or is he going to remain loyal to the end? We still do not know. Anything can happen all the way through to the end. A lot of people are hoping that's what it's going to be. I'm sure YNW Portland's family is hoping that's what it's going to be. I'm sure somebody is in his ear. His mama, siblings, close family members are like, listen, Cortland, you can't do this. They're going to give you a life sentence. For what? Because you're trying to be loyal to somebody who ain't loyal to you? Come on, man. Don't throw away your life. Tell them everything what happened. More than likely, if you tell them you were scared and you were forced into it and you were concerned about your family's well-being, they'll probably hit you a light sentence. But you going in there trying to do the rest of your life to be loyal to somebody, it's not going to work. We'll see where that plays out in the end. Here's my prediction. My biggest prediction is this, is that YNW Melly will be found guilty. I don't think he will get the death penalty. I think the best thing the prosecution could have done and should have done, but they didn't, was to drop the death penalty and try Portland and YNW Melly together. But they didn't do that. They want two separate trials. So since they're going to do that, I don't think he's going to get the death penalty, but I do think he's going to get found guilty. And whatever the sentence is, that's what they're going to work with. It was a gruesome murder. It deserves life in prison without the possibility of parole. That's probably what's going to happen. All right. I'm going to leave this one right here. If I missed anything that needed to be touched on, then that's what it is. Come February 5th, we'll see how it all goes down. Right? In the meantime, all these motions his attorneys have filed, they said they're fighting this in a different way. We can clearly see how. They're trying to get off on technicalities. I don't think that's going to work either. They're trying to stall as long as they could. I don't think that's going to work either. They're just delaying the inevitable. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. And I'll catch you on the next video. It's BrainFLoTv. I'm out. Peace.